Labas, mano bardo Oliveris, eso anglas, això és anglios, aquí venu Hispanioie, ashtirbu, ashesu mokitoios, Barcelonoie, ashkalbo angliskai, hispaniskai, hemokausi lietuvui piu kalbos. Viena valanda pardiena, hemokausi lietuvio kalbos, lietuvio kalba ira sunki, bet ne me janoma. Valko pizza, valko markironos, ardaug vegetarisko maisto. Geri vandeni kava ir alaus su savo trau kais. Assaggio tenniso, tinklini, bet ne futbola. Mantika cantes, bet ne norio catino. I finished 15 hours, so just a little bit over a week. And yeah, it's still repeating the same things, keeping with some very simple grammar, but make sure it's going in my head, and the words are definitely going in. Some words I know really quickly, like if I want to say I eat is ashvalgau, you have is tuturi. Then other words, they're definitely going in my head, like the days of the week are now going in my head, which were a bit more difficult at the start. And now I know it's prima dienes, antra dienes, tricia dienes, quinca dienes, penkma dienes. It's going in my head, and that's the good thing. Other words that are a little bit more difficult for verbs are like open and close, which I can't remember, but I remember it's something like us for open, us bekal or something like that. So these words are kind of slowly going in. I'm not really putting them, I'm not learning by brute force. It's not like again and again and again and again. It's just kind of repeating over the same lists slowly, and then I think my head is going, oh yeah, I kind of recognize that word, and that's how it's going into my head. So yeah, I think maybe a little bit I want to say about why you should learn languages, because there are a lot of reasons to learn. Obviously you get to speak a language. The one thing I wanted to say is it's very good for your mind. And you know, there's a lot of conversation about exercising as you get older. Obviously your mind, I think we just don't use it as much and maybe get a little bit lazy and complacent. So learning a language is a really good way to keep your mind sharp. Another tip, if something is hard, kind of stick at it for a while and then give yourself a break and go back to doing something really easy. Because I don't know, it gives you kind of satisfaction that you have actually learned something, because other things, especially the newer things, newer words, new structures, can make you feel like you're not getting anywhere. So it's good to kind of go back to what you have learned. With this kind of method, repetition is really key. So reviewing what you've done a lot. And yeah, so some words which I thought were quite difficult at the beginning, like an easy one. Potatoes, which is bulves. At the beginning, I don't know why I just wasn't remembering that one. Now it's quite easy to remember. And then other words going really easy, like friend, draugo, was fairly easy to remember. Yeah, another thing is it's kind of surprising just how different so many of the words are to English. I thought it'd be similar, but even Spanish has kind of closer connections with some of the words. So it's definitely a tricky language, I have to say. So I do think that learning languages, like learning anything, in fact, it's really a numbers game. It's, you know, just how much you do. The more of it you do of the same words, they'll gradually, it's kind of like muscle memory, but of your actual brain rather than your fingers, say if you're learning an instrument. But the more you keep going over the same thing, the more those words will stay in your head and the correct structures will stay in your head. So yeah, that's it. Labas. Okay, so I'm 20 hours into this experiment. It's been every day doing something, sometimes doing 2 hours, like today it's a Saturday. One class this week I spent half an hour just repeating the months because it wasn't going in, whereas the days are kind of clear in my head. I kind of call this retro learning. So for example, you might study a selection of words on one Monday, and then a week later you'll be studying a different set of words. By then the ones from the previous Monday will have sunk into your head in some form. You may, after a few days, recognize, oh, this word begins with a Z. and then another day you might recognize that's a Z and it's a couple of syllables, and then eventually it will go in. I'm not worrying too much about words not going in, because this whole thing is an experiment to see how my techniques can work with me. The one tip I will say is stick with the basics, because there's a lot you can potentially learn and look at, and it can feel more overwhelming and you won't get anywhere. It's better to just stick with the basics and get really good at them. Yeah, just get speaking, as a lot of people say. Siandien ira shestadienes ritoi ira sectadienes ritoi ash nudirto primadienes ash dipti mokikloye. The idea is that they are kind of small patterns of structure. After 20 hours, I think that's all I can really hope for. The idea is to continue studying and to have more meaningful conversations later on. But right now I'm still in that moment where it's just creating the building blocks and putting it together, and still kind of enjoying it and not feeling bored or as if I'm kind of going adrift. And this is the thing with a lot of people when they learn languages, they seem to kind of go without any direction and never really get anywhere, and then, you know, give up after 3 months. And, you know, you don't want to do that, you want to stick with it. So yeah, that's it. Iki pasi un attimo.